It's saying, I know that I'm a human being. Things are going to happen. I'm going to feel out of control sometimes, but the truth is I'm not out of control. I do have these tools like my breath, like my yoga practice, like my run or walking my dog or calling a friend that can help me with them. So I don't have to choose the potato chips. When we were putting together our 30-day challenge, we talked a lot about how does yoga fall into this? How does meditation fall into this? And shouldn't we just be doing high intensity workouts every single day? And the short answer is no. But there's also a little bit more behind the scenes that's going on. For one thing, we need to sleep. And we do need to reduce our stress. When our body is constantly in a state of stress, it tends to cling to fat. It tends to perpetuate the out-of-control cycles and where you are eating the things that you don't really want to be eating. You are a little bit mindless about how you're doing things. Also, when people are really, really, really stressed and they are sleep deprived, they don't tend to say yes to the workout. They tend to say no.
And they say yes to the triple layer cheesecake.
Yes, exactly. So when we check out our sleeping habits, when we check out our stress levels, and we start to identify, again, going back to a simple journal assignment, identifying what is my conditioned pattern for dealing with sleep deprivation? What is my conditioned pattern for dealing with stress? And we get really honest. Right? So with yoga, we have the yamas and the niyamas, and they're basically ways for living or suggestions for how to have a fulfilled life on the warrior's path, on the yoga path. And the first thing is ahimsa, and that's nonviolence. So that means like don't be violent or mean or uncompassionate to yourself and others. But let's talk about the self here.
Yeah.
Like, are we thinking the negative thoughts? Are we berating ourselves? Are we kind of feeding the negative cycle of, well, I already started the bag of chips. I'm going to get to the bottom anyways. I do this every day. Nothing's ever going to change. So starting to check in with that. And all of those, I mean, even just saying those things out loud, I could feel my stress level go up. Like we have such a negative reaction to that and we feed into it. So that's step one, is to just get really honest with how we're treating ourselves.
Yeah.
And then step two is satya. And satya means truthfulness. So a lot of times when we start to notice something like, ooh, I've been kind of mean to myself, we immediately want to hide from it. Like, nope, I'm not going to touch that. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to really acknowledge it. So we have to have honesty and compassion for ourselves throughout the process. And I think just as human beings, if we can take that approach to everything that we did, like we can probably solve all the world's problems, but let's just keep it focused on our own well-being. When it comes to things like stress, one, we need to be compassionate with ourselves. I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Like that can really help just to say it out loud. Yeah. And then two, get honest. Okay, sometimes when I'm overwhelmed, I do this thing, and that might not be the best use of my energy. So try something different.
Right.
And so getting real with our stress levels and also taking personal accountability for them. It is a choice to allow your life to be stressful. Because stress is going to happen regardless. Traffic is always going to be there. Bills are always going to be there. We're always going to have something at work that we don't like. Everyone's going to have family problems at some point. Everybody's going to grieve at some point. But yoga helps our stress tolerance. And so that means when things come at me, I have practices that help me return to a more even keel after a stressor event. So that resilience is huge. So it doesn't say, guess what? Your whole life's going to be rainbows. It's saying, I know that I'm a human being. Things are going to happen. I'm going to feel out of control sometimes. But the truth is I'm not out of control. I do have these tools like my breath, like my yoga practice, like my run or walking my dog or calling a friend that can help me with them. So I don't have to choose the potato chips.
Right.
I don't have to choose some other form of self-sabotage. And so that is a huge component of weight loss and really changing our life It doesn't have to be weight loss. It can be anything. It's a huge component of making a change in our life that we want is getting really honest about those types of things.
And I think also to even within that honesty, remember the first two, which was compassion.
Yes.
And truthfulness, but also just, I see so many people that can kind of spiral into that like self-judgment, and you're too hard on yourself, and you have this feeling like, oh, well, I can't change, or I can't accomplish anything. And it's a very, self-perpetuating feedback loop in that sense. But to give people the permission to be who they are. And like you were just saying, being able to say, you know what? I'm overwhelmed right now. I am, overexhausted or whatever. And just giving ourselves permission to feel the feelings we have and know that sometimes we are going to feel really stressed out.
Yeah.
We are going to feel overwhelmed. But to be able to recognize those sensations and then, like you said, take some accountability for how you respond to the stressful events.
Absolutely.
And when you think about, yoga practice, and you kind of go into these kind of difficult postures. They're kind of challenging. And then you hear the instruction, relax your face, ease into the pose. And it's to me such a great reminder that you always have to be leveraging what you're doing and how you're approaching something, because you can move into a certain yoga pose and just be holding it and holding your breath and squinching all the muscles in your face. And it's kind of a great analogy for going through life kind of feeling that way and feeling, like you're out of control, or, life is too hard, or losing weight is too hard. So just when you hear that kind of instruction to, hey, breathe here. Relax here, modify this pose however you need to make it feel good for you. And you're like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'm overwhelmed today. So maybe I'm just going to go for a walk. Instead of trying to go do a really intense workout. Or I'm under a lot of stress right now. So I'm going to, do something good for myself, like go get a massage, or go whatever, get your nails done, get your hair done. There's so many just little lovely joys of life that I think that we oftentimes don't allow ourselves to enjoy. But part of this idea of having self-compassion, being honest with ourselves, and just treating ourselves with the love and understanding that we would treat another person who was going through something difficult, can start to get us out of that habit of always being so hard on ourselves, and then kind of perpetuating those negative habits that become the coping mechanisms of how we're feeling.
Absolutely. And I think once we start giving ourselves the permission, and we couple that with accountability, then on days when we are feeling energized, we're like, I'm going to do the HIIT workout. I'm going to go cycling. I'm going to amp it up a little bit because I have that available today. And I think that that's such a great reminder of, like, we always need balance, right? We need the days where we're going gentle on ourselves, and we need the days when we're willing to challenge ourselves. But so often, if we feel like our middle name is stress, and that's a label that we really attach and identify with, then the idea of doing anything challenging or additional or out of our comfort zone feels like one more thing that we're piling on.
Right.
And when we can step back and say, my name is not stress. I'm having a stressful moment, and I have tools. We can get over the hump faster, and we can, on the days that we're feeling energized, say, you know what? I'm going to go do something that's challenging, and I'm going to love myself through the process, and I can't wait.
Right.
And I think one of the things I often hear with yoga is, oh, yoga's not great for weight loss. And I laugh because I've been doing yoga for a very, very long time. And I never really asked yoga to be for weight loss. That was number one. I never put that pressure on yoga. It was just something I loved to do because it made me feel better. It helped me deal with my stress. And the poses weren't easy. They were pretty hard. And it wasn't until later in my life when I became a fitness professional and a yoga professional, and I do a lot more with yoga than anything else, that I realized, oh my goodness, for all of the reasons that can be studied and researched, yoga is a tremendous tool for weight loss. It helps you build lean muscle mass. It helps you with your balance and coordination. It helps you use both sides of your brain. It helps you kind of come back from stress events with a little more ease. So we talked about resiliency. Well, resiliency is also really important for endurance. Can you go do the hard thing and keep up?
Yeah.
And if you don't have any control over your nervous system, if you have no control over your breath, I can guarantee you won't be able to finish the mile or sign up for the half marathon. But if you can have control of your breath, if you can coach yourself in the moment and say, you know what, this pain is not forever. I'm going to get through this. This is okay. Then you can do anything. And so for me, when people ask or say yoga's not great for weight loss, I kind of just stop and think, one, that's not true. And two, yoga's great for a whole host of things. And I hope that people make a relationship with a physical practice and a meditation practice, not just to lose weight, but also to look at their overall wellness for their whole life. And with my clients, very often I find that yoga is the thing they never break up with. So I always tell people, you never break up with yoga. You might be going through a spin phase, or you might be going through a running phase, or you might be going through a tennis phase, and those are great. I love running when the mood strikes. I love cycling when the mood strikes. But very often I find that yoga is the thing that people keep with them in their back pocket for their whole life.
Yeah.
It's just this lifelong tool. And so not only is it great for somebody who does have a physical goal in mind, but more than that, it's bigger than that. It's a life tool. It's a life skill. And that will continue to serve you and pay off in dividends. You're going to notice that your benefits from yoga are just compounded over time. And that's something that I really love about the practice. And I also love intense physical movement. I also love feeling athletic. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be, I'm a yogi, I'm not a runner. It's both, right? Yeah. That's just another label we put on ourselves.
Right.
It's all of it.
To view the full video version of this interview, along with hundreds of other life-changing health and wellness videos, subscribe to wellnessplus.tv or simply become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/Psychetruth. And remember that if you want to be alerted of our new YouTube videos, you've got to be subscribed and click that notification bell. You can listen to this full podcast interview for free right now on your favorite podcast apps, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. I've included all the links you need down in the description below.